And so I took jobs that weren't good fits, and they weren't, not only were they not enjoyable, they weren't as profitable. So you're going to work twice as hard to receive less or nothing. We need to have a brand recognition that says that we're elite. And if you want to be a part of this team, you're going to have to meet this standard. That's not okay to not be the best. You're as cheap as you're ever going to be when you're just yourself representing yourself. All you're doing is trying to ask for the very best version of yourself. And
for my last question, why do you feel it is important to be Contractors, what is going on? My name is Lev, and you have just joined us for another episode of Unconventional Materials. Today, we have a super exciting episode, and joining us today is the very own Ryan Woodland from Woodland Home Company. Woodland Home Company is a custom home building firm based out of Greeley, Colorado, and we're super excited to talk to Ryan about how he was able to build his company. Started back in 2016, but he has a little bit more experience prior to that. And so we're just going to kind of get into how it is that he's been able to make his company what it is today, and some of the pitfalls that he's had to run into over the years of being a general contractor and running a business in the trades. So without any further ado, we're just going to jump into it. Ryan, what's going on, my man?
Hey, what's up, Liv? Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. Ryan, obviously there are a lot of different things that general contractors go through when they're building up a business. But, oftentimes we see, the product of all their work, but we don't really get to meet the person behind the work. And so I wanted to learn a little bit more about you, Ryan. What kind of got you into the trades in the first place?
Well, like I kind of described to you, I have a family lineage of being relatable to the construction industry. So I think it was really path of least resistance for me. Got to learn a lot from my dad. I was on a 5-gallon bucket pulling wallpaper when I was 12 years old. So we got used to it. And I enjoy building things. I think that construction, it's a little bit underrated for some of the difficulties and challenges that it can bring to the table, that there's some pretty solid people out there solving each day. So I enjoyed that challenge. And it's also rewarding at the end of the day to make a customer happy, kind of make their dream come to life. I think that helps everybody kind of feel good that you've done something, providing a service to somebody.
Right. And prior to that, were you kind of like thinking about different industries or maybe moving out of construction at any point?
Yeah, I joined the fire department because in high school, I came out with a career day and service-based. I think I can help people here. This will be fun. And then that was a government occupation with a relatively strong union, and which is great, and it's a great offer to the employees. But the private sector has a unique offering where you can be rewarded for any additional work, the amount of effort you're willing to put in. There's no ceiling on what you can do. So that was always something that was a consideration for me in retiring from the fire department, to get a chance to see what all I can do, not have any limitations. I can grow it as far as my effort and desires in theory, right?
And that's more or less what you've been able to do with Woodland, right?
Yep. Didn't really have a whole business algorithm. That kind of happened with the experience. I just went out there and started creating products. And now that we have employees and infrastructure in, we've learned kind of the back end stuff there. But I just started out like I believe anyone else would. I had a pickup truck with a service body. I tried Angie's List, all the beginning entry things, and navigated my way through which marketing and Google SEO campaigns were successful. I just kind of threw a bunch of stuff at the wall. I wish I had a really organized plan, but that's not what happened. I just looked at the numbers on simple QuickBook estimates and tried to really find a way to be profitable while still staying within the realm of what the market is, because I didn't want to be charging outside of the market and get a reputation of being overpriced as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that definitely happens really all across the US, but specifically I know Colorado has a little bit of a reputation with contractors who don't really know what they're doing, and they kind of just bid blindly. You've seen that firsthand, and I feel like these types of contractors have kind of given you a little bit more ammunition or fuel to run your business in a little bit of a different way. So I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about like why it is that you run your company more like a Fleming Steakhouse versus, just an average Joe.
Yeah, I think that one, the Fleming Steakhouse, didn't come along until probably I'd say I put maybe $15 million of construction underneath me, because you have to know that the chef in the Fleming Steakhouse is sought after. So that's the role that I tried to create for myself by providing value. And yeah, that analogy of if you go to a nice steakhouse and order the special that is a filet with vegetables and potatoes, you rely on that chef and that facility to create that product for you. And that's what I try to tell customers, because construction does have the dogma of, do you know what you're doing? This is my house. It's very important to me. Are you going to destroy this? Are you going to finish it? So if I can gather their trust based on reputation and referrals and know that I have a superior product that I can provide in the end, then the relationship's so much easier. Like,
Yeah.
I'm aware, help me understand if there's something that you're seeing on the job site, but I'm acting with the best interest that this is your home. I'm treating it as mine. I want the very best outcome there. So that way they're not turning the dial on the heat for the steak and pulling the potatoes out too early and scorching the vegetables and then mad at you because they ordered a bad meal. Because the product is my responsibility at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I spoke with you for the first time and you gave that example, it really stuck out to me. And I actually shared it with a couple of people afterwards, because it is true. You know, we don't question the cooks in the kitchen. I mean, most of us don't, right? But we don't question the cooks in the kitchen when we get the final product. We're patient with it. You know, we interact obviously with, you know, the waiters on the staff. And I would actually equate the waiters in this situation to maybe like a project manager or maybe like a superintendent, whoever it is that intermediary is between yourself and the end user or the client in this case. And so all that being said, Ryan, we'll kind of go into the very beginning stages of Woodland Home Company, and we'll kind of talk through the progression of what what got you to sell, just over 15 million in total revenue produced for the company. But what would you say, like, what were some of the struggles opening your business, just going fully on your own back in 2000? Because you were doing it before, but like really opening this thing on your own in 2016 in Colorado?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because if you start a general contracting company and you're just out there fishing for leads, however you do that, if it's door knocking, calling, if it's I believe in Google ads and SEO campaigns, but those are substantial to get created. You have to have a legitimate website. Google has certain verbiage and things that need to be represented in the site. So that's a little bit, you have to have a little bit of capital to start that up, and you're entering into a little bit of debt that you have to overcome. But I changed the 2016 model to go towards new construction. So I bought 2 patio home lots, and if people weren't going to call me because I'm new in an environment and don't have the reputation, I just decided I'd build that reputation myself. So I built in margins into building those homes, obviously having to loan money, being aware of interest factors and the timeline of my construction and closing periods. But you have to start there until you're working out of your checking account. And that's how I built my reputation, was building homes for the customers and consumers to see the quality and see that we can still be in a reasonable price point. And then they began to call based on the real estate professionals that were listing and doing showings. It was like my own bit of marketing while I could receive payment, because I did Angie's List, and I'd say I'd do windows and doors, and I'd get a tile job, and you had to chase them down for not a validated lead, or it wasn't a good fit. And so I took jobs that weren't good fits, and they weren't, not only were they not enjoyable, they weren't as profitable. So I think that's the beginning stage to try and figure out what's your lane, what do you want to do, how do I get in front of these types of customers, what platform is available for me for free, are those qualified leads that I like, or do I want to invest in some type of marketing campaign where I can put myself in front of those people. And that's kind of my advice there.
Yeah, that's huge. And speaking to the marketing side of the business, because this is, I honestly feel like, contractors oftentimes are asking, how do I get more leads? How do I get more leads? And really what they're asking is not so much how do I get more leads, but they're asking, how do I get more jobs pretty much closed, right? They want deals secured. They don't want to just, fish out leads and go over to the homeowner's home and do the whole thing, put together a bid only to not get a response back, right? And so what do you feel really between, all the other contractors that you had to bid against once you started doing remodel work later on, what do you feel really served you when it came down to differentiating yourself?
Yeah, that's super valuable. I think clear expectations and transparency with the customer. Your reputation is going to precede you to some extent. So how you behaved on the last job and one before, being able to offer those as referrals or not. But I tell the customers I'm probably going to be in your 7 to 8 out of 10 price point. I won't be the most affordable. I don't think I'll be the most expensive, but I know what product I can bring to the table, and that's what it takes for me to provide that for you. So then they kind of know this is going to be a firm bid. This is another repetition for this person here. They understand what their overhead is, what their costs are, what they need to operate successfully, not paying your mortgage on their project, but earning a fair income and driving that volume. I think I do a transparent bid system, a cost plus contractor. So if a job has 15 quotes, I have my estimate formally attached, and then the estimates behind it from subcontractors are organized based on how they fit in the QuickBooks overall quote. And I think people see that organization and they see the quotes rather than $40,000 to do the kitchen. They don't really know. Not that they're trying to count your money, but they want to see each independent item and grasp their head around that. I think has set me apart from others is the transparency there for me personally.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And speaking to now, contractors are listening to this, right? Contractors, obviously, one of the biggest things that when I coach them, when I work with them one on one, the one thing that I constantly see is that profitability is such a huge issue for them, right? And they're, chasing all of these different jobs and just spraying and praying, hoping that they're going to actually land the jobs. And then when they do land the jobs, they're landing them at margins that pretty much make no sense for them. They're just so after the chase of getting the job that, they don't even realize that they're about to be upside down once, the client actually signs on. And so
Right.
what do you feel, all that being said, what do you feel is like the biggest thing that keeps contractors from valuing themselves at a higher profit margin?
Yeah, there's two pretty good points there that you brought up, and I think everybody experiences that in construction. It's a difficult industry. There's easier ways to earn money. That's just a fact. It's difficult, and there's unforeseens. I would say 1 to 3% of every contract is going to be damaged, broken material that no one's even going to know how or why it's broken or missing, and that's your responsibility. So there's margin eaters everywhere, and I personally have built the same home on 2 different lots, and they were completely different experiences. So no job's ever the same. It's not like we're doing the same surgery, and even there, there's similarities there, but it's always different. I mean, I was a medic for 3 years, at stations that ran 9,000 calls a year. It's still a chest pain call, but they're always different somehow. So I think rather than taking 10 jobs with a proposed gross margin of 15% that's watered down to 5 net, why not focus on 5 jobs that are good fits that you can be really effective at and learn how to do those better and more efficiently and really dive into the numbers. Like, you don't just catch a check and see there's a little money in the account and move on to the next one. You're not going to get any better. You got to look at what happened, what were mistakes and errors, ask customers for feedback. What do you think I did well on this? What are some areas I can improve upon, and get their feedback and constantly evolve and make changes to provide the best service you can. And once you get to a place where you're like, hey, I'm doing the very best I can, I think at that point it's important to have a peer group or seek out a mentor or someone that's the next level up. I'm meeting with an individual in about a month that his 5-year vision is to build 1,000 homes a year. He currently closes on around 300 to 350 per year. So I'm going to go to him in his facility and find out how does he do what he does and learn, because there's no one guiding me but myself, and you can only do so much by yourself, right? So I think that's the next step once you grasp that. And you want to be qualified and know your numbers and details when you go meet that person, or else it's a waste of his time and of yours, right?
You brought up such a good point. It's a very powerful point that I feel like I honestly, working in this industry, I rarely ever see it. I mean, you're maybe one of the exceptions, Ryan, right? But the importance of mentorship, right? Because this industry is lonely, it's isolated. Contractors, they operate in silos, right? They don't necessarily go out into peer groups, or maybe they'll do the BNI thing, but there's only like a certain cap to the quality of people that maybe you're meeting in terms of the goals that you're trying to accomplish in those types of groups. So talk to me about maybe how you came across the value of one-on-one mentorship and what that's done for you.
Yeah. So kind of same concept as starting a business. Hey, Google, where's a business coach near me? And found out price points. And what I found to be the most valuable initially, and this is a $400 a month investment for a 4-hour meeting once a month with similar businesses, because business is selling a product or a service, right? In construction, you sell both. But I'm in a group with a lawn doctor, cleaning service, a printing shop, all with the same amount of gross revenue and similar number of employees. Therefore, similar headaches to deal with. Industry to industry, it's still, there's a lot of commonalities there. And some of these people have been in business for 10 years, 15 years. So there's value to be in that room as they issue process. You go through things, and one question on a presentation may be, how do I reduce my overhead to increase profitability? Well, they may clean houses for a living, but the bottom line is still the bottom line. And they have insurance, you have insurance. They have vehicle expense costs, employee payroll, all the things you do too. So that's what I found most valuable, was a group setting of people that are where I'm at or where I want to be. And so that's kind of, I'm here to hopefully give back and help other people, because it's hard to find that. I had to try 3 or 4 groups, and I did spend some money there where there wasn't the best return. And it's hard to spend $400 a month for a lot of starting contractors, So I think the value's there. As difficult as it is, it'll improve your public speaking. You'll present your financial numbers, and that will make those tight. If you're putting your P&L annual and balance sheet up against 10 other business owners for them to critique, you're going to want to know that information, or you're going to be embarrassed. So those things elevate you naturally just by being near those groups of people.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think that there's like a mindset piece here that I'm hearing, because in order to, a lot of folks, the general population, they have an idea that if you own a business, you got to have a ton of money, right? Whereas it's actually quite the opposite, right? Like, especially in the beginning, where there's so many challenges, there's so many, hiccups that come through that process. Talk to me through, the importance of having mental fortitude, especially in an industry like construction, because it is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think you got to embrace the good days, look at things from a bigger picture, if it's monthly, quarterly, annual, if you're first starting out, sometimes it's good to revisit a 90-day quarter and say, how did that go? Where am I at trajectory wise? Sometimes when I first started my first couple of years, I'm like, okay, that was a good quarter. I've got my insurance premium paid, and I now have a budget to fuel my truck for the rest of the year. And that's where I'm at. We're worried about bringing money home to the family in second quarter, third quarter. And those are tough places to be, but it's a reality. And I think it's the best place to be, because you're going to have to learn how to solve these problems. They're only going to get larger as you get larger. More money does not mean it gets easier. It gets more difficult. There's higher training for receptionists, office managers, superintendents, policies, employee handbooks. Those all cost money to implement. Right now, I tell this to my young brother too, as a contractor, you're as cheap as you're ever going to be when you're just yourself representing yourself. It only goes up expense-wise for here. And that's what I call like the alligator chomping behind you, that's eating and mowing the money that you need to continuously put in place. Mm-hmm. So if you grow and you have a small leak in your garden hose and you turn the pressure up, you only make the tear larger. So you're going to work twice as hard to receive less or nothing. So it's really important to know everything about your business when it's just you, before considering, how much do I need in gross sales to improve, to add one superintendent? Is it $1 million? Is it $2 million? Is it 200,000? Where are you at with your business? Those are the things that I think, that puts you, although it seems difficult to start, you're getting the building blocks and all the foundation you need to be a successful business owner later. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to look back and say that I wish I would have known what I know now. But I think that's a natural way for us to go through life. And if you're expecting it to be smooth, you're not going to enjoy the process. It won't be smooth. And that's just what it's going to be for everyone. You're not a victim. You're not someone who's being targeted. This is what it is. And we're here to learn and get better and work. Anybody can hang a door, but it's your customer service. Like you said, it's the waiter, it's the hostess, it's the environment in the restaurant, not just the steak. It's the whole process, and learning how to manicure that to where it's really acceptable and rewardable through the client. That's kind of the goal, right? Is to nail it on every single aspect for them.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And there is something to say about a quality level of customer or quality service, customer experience, a high level of that, it does warrant, a higher price tag. And
Exactly.
if something warrants a higher price tag, we also got to look at the spread that the contractor takes in. And so if you are charging higher, you do afford yourself that much more of a profit. And that's because of the fact that you are willing to do something that maybe another contractor is not willing to do. Just in terms of, we're talking about small things here. We're talking about communication, but is it really that small, especially in this industry? I think that communication is like the biggest pitfall that contractors have. And I know that's something I said we were going to talk about. So what would you say, in your experience, are some of like the biggest pitfalls that contractors struggle with, Ryan, in your eyes?
Yeah, you kind of, the first part of your question there was like you hit it on the head. So, there was a story of a $20 million yacht and something breaks, they're lost at sea. Gentleman comes up and he takes out a hammer, taps on a part, says, "You're good to go." They go, "Thank you so much." Fires right up. What's the bill? $20,000. And he goes, $10 for the hammer, $19,900 for the experience. That's what you want to build to. If you don't have it, you need to be soaking up all the information you can. If this is helpful for young contractors, great. Continue to watch these videos. Read books, go to training seminars. Right now, I think Vegas has might be a hard surface deal, but it was concrete last weekend. There's always things you can go to learn, ask about new products, see who will speak to you, who will help you. Start to preserve and earn your value in the market. Because if you do that for long enough and you focus on providing a service, not what you're earning originally, what is my service level? What am I providing? Are these people going to say that I'm amazing and tell a friend and the friend calls you? You know you're on a good track there. You'll eventually elevate yourself into a market. Like our general homes that we work in are $2 million and up. And that's not okay to not be the best. Like that's what's required in those environments. So that's a blessing to be in those, and they are more expensive. But let's learn and make mistakes on the smaller ones before we get to bigger ones. And that's, I think, what happens on the job. You said communication. It's incredibly crucial. Subs, here's my schedule. Here's the allotment of days I have for you for this task. Is that adequate? If it's a 5-day process, I give them 7. Add buffers, communicate with the customer, what's going on. If you see anything that's, a gray area, immediately address those things, right? Don't let them fester. You'll begin to lose confidence in the customer if they see those things not being addressed. And your presence and time on the job is what comforts them, your experience and your presence. So I would say spend all the time you can being on the job site, asking questions of your subs, what they're doing. If it annoys them, whatever, find a new sub. You're only as strong as your subs are. They're going to represent you and carry out the product. You won't be able to see everything. You need to rely on those individuals to perform to the best of their ability. So you have to be pretty quick about hiring and firing there as well. Make sure you have the very best representation of yourself and your company with those subs. And that'll guide you from a lot of wrecks right there. The cheapest guy isn't always the best guy. And you got to develop good relationships with people that you trust to carry out the product. You're the orchestrator of what occurs in someone's home. The sub doesn't tell them what to do. You control that. And they need to know clearly what you're expecting of them, right?
Ryan, you dropped like so many value bombs just now. And I think that the audience kind of needs a moment to take a step back and appreciate it, because these are the things that I think every contractor in the depths of their heart, they know these things, but I think they ignore them, right? I think they ignore a lot of these things because scarcity mindset, right? How can I get the cheapest labor? How can I get this done as fast as possible? How can I, substitute these materials for those materials so that way we can kind of get away with a similar load? And then what are we left with, right? At the end of the day, we're left with, and this is when I come in, right? I have a conversation with a contractor and I'm asking them, hey, I noticed that you have a 2-star Google review. Why? Why is this, right? And they're telling me like the main they were a pain in the butt and they were this and they were that. And it's a bunch of excuses, right? And so as contractors, so many run away from the reality of the fact that they are just not showing up to the best of their ability, right?
Right.
And then they take take the ownership that they've been afforded, and they cast blame onto the people who are even giving them the opportunity to eat in the first place.
Right.
And so to your point, audience listening to this, Ryan just said something that I am certain will serve hundreds, if not thousands of contractors if they just take the advice, take a sliver of it, and implement it into their own businesses. Ryan, I do want to ask you, because you talked about recruiting a little bit. What has been your experience in finding top talent? What are some trends or patterns that have allowed you to recruit some of the best laborers for your process?
Right. That's challenging, and I've been through some growing pains there, and I feel comfortable with my position now. I think, starting out, what is your job description? Whomever you're looking to employ or add to the team, they need to know exactly what they're going to be responsible for, because that's how you're going to basically judge their quality of their performance. And if you need to write performance improvement plans or document inabilities that are identified, that's the job description is the key for that. And not just carpenter, trim, doors, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we need to have a brand recognition that says that we're elite. And if you want to be a part of this team, you're going to have to meet this standard. So our reclaimed lumber business has lead craftsman, assistant artisan with, some pretty high quality indicators in the position. That it's going to deter a lot of other individuals that are just kind of shopping around. You don't want someone just showing up for 8 hours to get their time. That's not how you're operating in your mind, and that's not who you want to be around. You need to find people that want to grow and succeed to the same level that you do. I think background investigations and drug testing, things of that nature, also help weed out some of the candidates that are not taking you seriously. Because if someone's not ready, if you're going to take care of them well financially and treat them well, and have them enter into your company to represent your name or your brand, that's an important decision. So I think I've used Snelling staffing before. I've used Tradesman International that basically brokers individuals and has a premium on top of them. I found a lot of success on Indeed personally to put out job leads there, and we provide tiered interviews. It's no longer just talk to me and we feel good about it. I have a 22-page employee handbook. In particular, there's core values and mission statements that I really believe in, and that's my first question. Hey, thanks for coming here. Appreciate it. What did you think about the core values? If they have no response, we go home. That's it. You didn't even read it. I just think you have to have people that are willing to put the effort in that you're putting in, because you're in a boat and you're rowing together. And if there's an idle paddle, you're in circles. So it's just so much more difficult to remove that person from your environment than it is to bring them in. So I'd say fire fast and hire slow, and just treat people fairly, respectfully, notify them and offer them areas to improve if they're not succeeding in their role, but make their role very clear so that they understand. And that will give them the best chance to succeed if they know what they're doing and what they're signing up for.
Ryan, you speak a lot of my language. You speak a lot of my language, and that's a big part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, to share this with everybody. Because when I spoke with you for the very first time, I heard you speaking like a business professional. You were not speaking to me like and I'm going to put the label on, you were not speaking to me like a contractor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that my belief is that, and the reason why Cosmosify even exists in the first place, right, is because of the fact that there is a huge opportunity for contractors to bring order into their businesses. And such a huge part of bringing order into their businesses is taking the label off of themselves as general contractor and putting the label on themselves of being whoever it is that they need to be in order to be successful, right? So taking the label off in order to actually not label yourself at all. And I feel as though you've been able to do that successfully. For my last question, why do you feel it is important to be identity wise, right? Identity wise, why is it important for you to kind of be fluid in running a business?
And to be fluid, well, you brought up a point there. The so-called labeling, yeah. I mean, you'll have to fight that in construction. When I was a firefighter, you wave on the engine, everyone cheers you, and there was some times there was some hard work and there's some downtime too. So construction, it seems like you got 5, 6 big quotes out and no one's moving. You're trying to figure out what to do, and then they all go on the same. So it will always do that in your life. And sometimes I had to hire 9 employees to get through half a year. And there's been times I've been the only employee and, 1099 all my subs and done that. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, if you look at any other successful business, any type of entity that provides a product or service, because that's what business is, we're providing products or service to sell to our community to improve them. You have to be asking the best of yourself and learning from other individuals that have succeeded, because I've tried it on my own and I regret those years. They're wasted. I was too stubborn to think I could figure it out. That's ignorance. And we only have so much time. I'm 37 now, and I wish I was further along. I'm doing the best I can to get caught up there, and dealing with issues that are preventable, like poor communication, poor job scheduling, inappropriate billing practices, whatever. Those are just, you're making mountains out of your own molehills. So you're going to steal your own time, which should be focusing on the product and what you're building, right? And if you have downtime, great. Now I can focus on my overhead, look at my P&L, see how do I improve that. If it's time to just drop the hammer and complete as much construction as we can per day, great, let's get a paycheck. But there's never a down, I'm slow, I'm just waiting. It's a fight out there. There's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's basically that you're in a red ocean fighting with similar products. There's always going to be someone better than you too. I've done this for 18 years, and there's guys that I've done it for 30 and 35, and they're phenomenal. And I'm competing next to them going, well, I hope I get a crack at this, but I understand the experience level. You're never going to get ahead of that or get away from it. So that's how I can compete with those individuals, is trying to better myself and my business acumen. Like you said, I don't have it all figured out, but at least striving towards that allows me to make professional decisions with it, rather than just throwing 10 balls up and catching 5, which is common. You're in like a no growth state. You're gaining experience, but you're not growing your business. You're just surviving the days. And you see a lot of that in construction, but that's a personal choice. So I think it's the choice is I'm going to preserve my mind for the most important tasks and utilize that specifically for that day if I can. That's always been my tactic there.
Somebody shared with me that time management is not nearly as important as energy management or attention management. And I think that you just kind of spoke to that, right? And so that being said, it is important to, preserve the mind. I'm using your words, preserve the mind, so that you can focus on the highest value activities, the right. activities where you have the highest amount of leverage on in order to return, as much as you can back into the business. And ultimately not be, spinning your wheels and running in place in order to just accomplish, or work harder in order to accomplish the same thing that you would otherwise if you started the business 5-6 years ago. So, Brian, you spoke to so many valuable points. I am more than confident that our audience of contractors is going to pull something, at least one thing valuable away from it.
That's awesome.
But Ryan, that being said, www.woodlandhomecompany.com, that is where people can find you. Can they find you anywhere else on social media?
Yep, we do have Instagram at Woodland Home Company. We have Facebook, Woodland Home Company, and then we also have our sister company, which is Woodland Home Marketplace, which is a reclaimed lumber business in the state of Colorado. We have the largest reclaimed inventory on hand in the state, and that company is 3 years old. We started introducing those into our higher end mountain homes and mountain projects, and that's been really fun. So true reclaim 100-year-old, barns in Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. I fly out there and put those on a 53-foot flatbed, all 45,000 pounds, and get it to us, and we bring it back to life. So wow, there's that as well.
That is incredible. Ryan, thank you so much for joining. I know that this will not be our last conversation. We'll have plenty more for, hopefully years to come. But do you have any last words for our contractor community, for our audience, and for maybe, I don't know, anybody special in your life.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been nice talking to you. I know you received my answers for the lead generation. Well, that was fun. But I think for contract, this last year was a little bit difficult, and things are expensive, and there's some interest factors are high. They're kind of on their way down, but don't get frustrated. It can be difficult. Last year was not overly successful from a goal. You readjust your goals, and things will change. There'll be opportunities, but you just gotta stay in there. It's a tough industry. Try to evolve yourself and just get value more and more and more every year, and look back and assess that. And where am I at? Where's my trajectory? Sometimes, like with friends and family, you can look at their relationship and see what changes need to be made for their success and health. But we don't always look at ourselves, and that's what I say helped me a bunch was, instead of being miserable and frustrated, what am I doing each day? Can I improve this? Where do I want to go? Is my actions, my decisions, what I'm putting in my body and exercising and reading, is that getting me closer to that? Or am I just out here running around like everybody else? It doesn't make you better. And people may say that, you think you're better, whatever, but all you're doing is trying to ask for the very best version of yourself. And so that's my encouragement to the group. I really think what you're doing is awesome, helping people. That's awesome, have a kind heart and want others to succeed. And that's kind of why I'm here. So I'm thankful for, I guess, my wife and my son. That's why I do what I do. And she's been really supportive there. I think that's really important because there are some down years and some difficult times. And she's been really just always had my back in that regard and encouraged me. And that's been helpful because doing it alone is tough, like you said. And then when we do well, I'm happy to shower them with whatever gifts I can and enjoy those moments with them and vacations and memories. But it's not always that way. And for people to realize that and they see maybe they would consider me successful, that's fine, but you're just looking through a certain lens. It's difficult for everyone. And the more money, the more issues. I believe that's true. That's what I've experienced. So, but best of luck to everybody out there. And thanks again for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for your vulnerability. And if you guys pulled something valuable away from this episode, please make sure that you subscribe, because we will be having more guests, more leaders from all different industries in order to serve this community of residential general contractors and perhaps even commercial contractors in the future as well. With that being said, thank you so much for joining, and we will look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. See ya.